Well, I'll just start by saying that's a hard one. That's a tough one. And, really, really pleased with how hard our guys played. I felt like there was a different intensity and a different energy than probably any of the games that we have played. And I think, I think it showed up for as many errors as we made in terms of penalties and some details and turnovers. We still had a really good shot to win, and I think it's because they really showed up with tremendous passion. And, just really hopeful that can continue. And I think if it can and can continue during the week, we'll make strides. I think, in a lot of ways we got better, playing a really good team. And, sometimes it seemed like we did so many good things, but there were so many things that, like, everything else went against us and lined up for Arizona. But, was really pleased with how hard those guys played. And I know if we can continue with that intensity, that we can get some things done.
Looking back on the end of the game, any regrets about not taking a knee, or also the timeout situation after Arizona ran the third down for the field goal, maybe putting some time on the clock there for you?
So, the one thing I really want you guys to know is, all of it was very calculated. And so you might not agree with the strategy, but, we got our charts all on our game plans, and the guys are looking at it upstairs. And so after, we converted those 2 first downs, I think we had 4 minutes and some seconds, and we got 2 first downs. And so looking at the chart, we felt like we still had a handful of seconds left before we could really kneel it and kill it. And what I didn't want to do was take 3 knees and then have to punt. We didn't know exactly how many seconds would be left. I didn't want to do that thing where you're running around back there and then all of a sudden it's like there's 1 second left and they're in field goal range. So the strategy was, hey, we're going to run one more play, and then we can relook at this time clock to see if we can get it all the way down to take a knee. And, and then the ball comes out. And so we had thought about that very closely. As part of your second question, probably the thing that I'm most discouraged about that whole thing is that he got a free kick. Like, that was not the intent, and live and learn on that. I mean, we practice that every day, every week ourselves, that if they ice you right at the end, you're going to take a free kick. And so I tried to call a timeout a little bit earlier, twice, and for whatever reason it wasn't called, and that's on me to make sure that I don't even mess around with that we just – and so that one was probably as frustrating as anything. Going back and looking at it, we've looked at our charts again, where we were. I would do exactly the same thing. I would run another play to probably our most sure-handed guy. That didn't even enter my mind that was going to happen. It really didn't. And I know everybody else probably thinking that, but it didn't.
Yeah, if leaving 30 seconds, if you did make the field goal, to give yourself a shot to get a couple of cracks.
And I didn't think he was going to make it, and my hat's off to him. I mean, he did a nice job kicking that game. They've had a little bit of struggles. That's why we went after it so hard when they faked it on us. And our hat's off to Coach Rod and those guys. They executed it good. They really did. And so I didn't think he was going to make it. I really didn't, and had a little time to play with, and that one. They came through, and he answered, and, again, my hat's off to him. The kid pressure kicks.
Even if he doesn't make it, though, what do you lose by just calling the timeout with 33 seconds left? It seems like if he misses it, you just take a knee and it's over anyway, right?
And I guess we could have done that, and had a chance to return something. But I think, the main thing is going back to the first part of, killing the clock, that whole situation that – I would have done that one. I would have done that the same. I would have run one more play to see where we were and get, if we can, run that thing all the way out.
Charts calculated, is that something you guys look at every week, or is it done kind of before this?
No, it's done before. We don't change them. and it's if you get a first down, if the clock is stopped, so there's two different things that you're looking at. You're kind of simulating that a play to take a knee may take, about 3 seconds off it if you're just taking a knee. If you run a play, it may be a little bit more. And so, it's not an exact science, because depending on when that ref gets the ball, if you run a play, if you're taking a knee, and that's why we really felt like there was going to be a handful of seconds left. And we needed to run one play, and I'm thinking, well, hey, maybe we're going to even get a first down here, but we would be able to regroup and get a much closer count, that if we could kill it out.
Because that was a running clock. Moving forward, do you emphasize maybe to your team to drain the play clock a little bit better?
And so we were milking it fairly good. On that last one, I think Seiler snapped it with about 7 seconds, which that one was too early. We had some motion on that play, so he's got a lot to look at there. And so that one probably brought the motion a little bit too early. But even with that, even if he would have gone right down to the end, we still would have had a couple seconds on that play right there. So again, it goes back to we wanted to run one play. Go from there.
You don't second guess yourself at all on that?
On that whole situation? Yeah, I've looked at it about 105 times, second guessing it, and if I had to do it again right today, I'd do the same thing.
Is there an exact number of seconds you needed fewer on the chart? Do you know how many?
Well, like I said, when we got there, we knew that there was going to be a handful of seconds. It would be anywhere from, I don't know, I think it was, looking back on it, could have been anywhere from 5, 4 to, 8 seconds, depending on when we got it, when how much time was run off there. And that's why we thought, okay, we're not sure we can run that. What I didn't want to do was take a knee, and then have to punt. That I didn't want to do. Because I think that they're going to send everybody and their brother after our punter. And even if they don't get to it, we're going to have to stay in so long for punt protection that he's going to get a good chance to get that thing started, and then there it can go. This is what I do know is that, the strategy what we went with, we coughed it up. If we do the other one and we punt to them and they block it or they return it, I'm getting the same questions the other way. And so, when your strategy doesn't work, you get a lot of questions. But we felt at that time that was the best thing to do.
You talking to Deontay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And not so much about that. Not so much. Yeah, he's doing fine, and I always say this, there's always critical plays right down at the stretch, and everybody wants to, whether it's a field goal kicker or something like that, and everybody wants to look at that play. And that's the one we remember, but there are so many plays on tape that we had a chance to, change the game. And really some subtle ones in terms of field position with some penalty type things. We had a couple shots with a couple more interceptions. Those type of things, some sacks. We took the turnovers in the red zone, we can go on and on. There's just so many more. We always focus on that one at the end that is so hard.
What were some of the things you would change in that game based on the errors that you saw?
Well, the penalties, I think there were some penalties that we need to clean up without question. There were some real aggressive penalties. And so it's always playing right to the edge and having great football intelligence and pull them back. And so we got to get that cleaned up. And those things are hard to practice because, the speed of the game changes, how fast you're really going in the game. But we got to practice a little bit faster so we can have a chance to make some of those type of decisions. And obviously the turnover thing. That's just, you turn it over 3 times to a really good team. I just don't think, you're going to win unless you have a lot of luck. And obviously the luck that we've been having lately is kind of on the other side of the coin. So I think those are the things.
Where does this game sit as far as toughest losses?
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful. They're all painful. I feel really, I feel really bad, but I feel like this is how it should be when the kids play this hard. That when they play that hard and you have chances to win and you really in some ways deserve to win and you don't, it's just, it really hurts. But that's what sport's all about. I really think that's when it's done right. That's why it's like, and you analyze every little call, the ones we're talking about, going back over the different plays. The kids are the same way. How could I have done this a little bit different? and sports are hard sometimes.
You mentioned in regards to the clock management that you wouldn't change anything there. Is there anything from the game itself that you would have liked to have done differently?
Well, like I said, the calling the timeout earlier so the ref does not wait at all. I didn't like that at all. That one really bothered me. Yeah, I mean, I think from a coaching standpoint, I mean, we moved the ball well. We got Petersen involved. All those things were better. I think we played really good defense, really physical defense. The kids were running the ball like we hadn't seen them run in a while. I mean, so there really was a lot of good things. And, if we can continue with that passion, that effort, that energy, and not be discouraged and, play these last couple games with that type of intensity, I think our chances get better.
Kind of unusual in a game like this to see with this much offensive success, and yet all those penalties, turnovers. It seemed more than any game this year you had a real offensive rhythm going most of the game. How do you look at that? What is that?
So and it felt different and it felt better. When we can convert some third downs, our third downs were better. So we were staying on the field a little bit longer. We got to run more plays than we've run in a while, and so it did feel a lot better. That's what it's supposed to feel like on offense. We'd still like to, I still think we left too many points, on the field in terms of the red zone, the couple turnovers. Kyle's been money in that field goal department, and one bounces, all those things. We ball on the ground on an extra point that could have, all these little things. It's just like, wow. I mean, there was just so many things, like how many we play so well in so many ways, and then so many things that just really aren't good football. And I think that's what's kind of awkward, weird about the whole game, and that's where we got to get better.
What do you do to kind of clean up or make more crisp the center?
Yeah, that's right. And so we're working hard on that. I mean, we may have to move some guys around a little bit there. We got a couple guys that can snap the ball. Collins, he's done a heck of a job in there blocking and doing some really good things, but he can play guard. We got other guys who can play center. We may shuffle some things around there because that's hard to deal with as well when those snaps aren't right on the money.
With the fans every day, and they're angry, they're pissed off. And for you saying you do the same thing over again, I'm not sure that's going to soothe a lot of the anger and frustration out there. What do you have to say to the fan base out there? Because they're still angry.
Yeah, and I think it's hard. It really is. But I think all I can do is be honest and look at that again in the same situation. I don't think we could have killed the ball. We were going to run one play, and then maybe we could have taken a knee, and we go from there and regroup. And no one's more disappointed. I can tell you this: no one's more disappointed than myself and the coaches and the players in the locker room. There's no question about it.
Can you talk about the mechanics of that particular play from coming up top, looking at the chart, everything else? Did the process work the way you wanted it to?
I think so. Yeah. Can we kill it? Can we take a knee? No, we need to run another play. It looks like we need another play.
So there wasn't any problem with hiccups with the way
not at all. I mean, the whole thing is, we were huddling up. We were trying to take time off the clock in that whole series there. Converted a couple third downs. Got that done. So we were very well aware of it. We converted the last one, and it was like, we need one more play.
Philosophically, what don't you like about the quarterback taking the snap and taking 6 or 7 steps backwards, or running out to the outside and falling down, or kind of time wasting things like that?
I don't have a problem with that. If we can get that all done, like I say, we go back and we kind of go off the charts. And if the chart says, hey, we're not really in that kneeing position yet, we go from there. And so, I know that everybody will be, on point and looking at those things. As much as we possibly can when this comes down the road again, because it will. And we'll practice milking the clock down even further when we're kind of in our 4-minute mode, and make sure that we take every possible second we can without putting ourselves in jeopardy of a penalty.
On the big field goal, do you assign a defender to watch for the fake, and then what happened to him on that play?
Yeah, and so there's most of the time we have everybody accounted for, all the eligible guys on the wings and the tight ends. And then every now and again we'll pull the trigger and we'll rush the guys. And so we won't cut them all loose for sure. But there may be one guy that will be cut loose when you're going to go for basically an all-out block. And so Buddha was on. He was on the one guy, the one wing. They released two wings, and Buddha was on the one guy because it was a run-pass option for sure. But our other wing came hard off the edge trying to turn the corner. And then Travis Feeney and John Timu, I mean, they were chasing hard. And the one wing that was in the flat got a piece of Travis where he might have got him, and John, was giving everything he could to keep him out. I think that was, a good call on their part. I mean, that's part of the game.
The young quarterback.
At a time where you're trying to block the field goal?
What's that?
Are you saying that they caught you at a time that you were trying to
We're a
block?
pretty aggressive block team when it comes to those type of things. And but we're not always doing that. We pick and choose our spots, but in the most part, we try to push hard from up the gut, more so than the edges. And sometimes we will come hard from the edges. And it was a good call. I mean, it was a longer field goal, and they had been struggling a little bit, and so we're trying to make sure, hey, we keep these points off the board. Yeah.
It's more of the late game stuff. I mean, I just assume you practice it every week, but with a young quarterback, young offense.
Yeah, we will pay attention to that and have our play clock on and make sure that we're milking it down as far as we can. There's no question. I mean,
The snaps are obviously one thing, but Seiler's just kind of flat dropped the ball a few times this year too. Is there something with his grip, with his hands?
yeah, I don't know about that. He has, and his balls come out the one he's trying to throw it and all that, and it slips out, and those are hard ones. And I think the combination between some of the snaps and some of that make it pretty tough. You're going to have those every now and again. I mean, every team does, but we got to get better. We got to get better at snapping the ball accurately so he can kind of grip it quickly and go from there.
Coming back to the performance of the offense, I think you guys had 12 guys touch the ball. Is that how you design the offense to look? I mean, is that ideal?
I think this week was better in terms of like what we'd like it to be. We like to stay on the field longer. We'd like to distribute the ball around, convert the third downs, run more plays, stay out of as many 3 and outs as we can. I think those things are all what we're trying to get done.
Hey, what were your words to the team this morning, trying to kind of regroup?
It really wasn't terribly different than it was even after the game. Just that I think the one thing that I felt, and I hope that they felt, there was like the intensity that came to that game, the effort. Like that's how it has to be. That's it. And if we can replicate that every game, and if we can replicate a lot of that intensity during the week, there is no question that we're going to improve and get better. And then we just talked about the areas that we do need to clean up. Some of the things that we've already spoke about, and that's basically what it was. And we got two weeks, and we're really into a 1-week season as always. And Oregon State, is doing a heck of a job right now. It's the same old thing. This league's unbelievable. Every week. I think it's like the NFL in terms of parity. It's very hard to predict who's gonna do what, and every games are close, and guys knock each other off, and so we need that type of intensity and that passion this week as well.
You mentioned, Chris, at the beginning, this was the emotional peak that you've been seeking both sides of the ball. Why do you think it took 11 games to do?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's a great question, and it's something that we've really been talking about and trying to, as a coach, you don't think you can just talk about things. You got to talk about them, then you got to go do them. You got to work on them. You got to practice it. But bringing like emotional energy and passion, all those things, those sometimes are hard to replicate and practice and practice those type of things. But I do think we've been making strides, and it showed up this weekend.
Washington had a big game for you, and over the last month, he hasn't had a lot of carries. Were you having to manage his energy towards the end of the game a little bit when he got up to 19 carries? Was there fatigue there you were kind of watching for?
I think our running back coach Keith Bonifant does a good job. Every position coach manages their guys and pays attention to the rep count. What the reps look like. Does the guy need to come out for a blow? And so, I think he was okay. He's practiced pretty well the last couple weeks, although he hasn't got a bunch of reps in the game. Finally kind of got him loose, and that was good to see.
Chris, going
Did you
back to
guys
the...
open up the playbook a little bit more, or did you just execute the ones better?
I think we just executed better, I think we did a good job of running the ball against a pretty good run defense. And, as soon as you can run the ball, I think some things in the pass game start to open up, and you're in more manageable situations in terms of converting third downs. I mean, that helps your third down percentage. We try to play to the strengths of our guys, starting with our quarterback, and so, we're trying to do what he can do well.
Just going back to the not calling for more time after the field goal, what's the negative to leaving yourself? I mean, you mentioned that you didn't think you'd make it. If you call timeout with 30 seconds on the clock, if he misses it, game's over. He makes it, you've got time.
Kristen was saying too, yeah. And there probably is no negative, and going back, we could have used a timeout there, let him kick it, and then we try throw the ball back and forth, and that type of stuff when they squib it.
Last home game for your upper class, can you talk about the transition importance they've had for your program?
Say the last part one more time.
How important have they been to the transition for you taking over as head coach and the program?
I think the seniors have done a really good job. I mean, Danny Shelton is playing, unbelievable football. I mean, that guy is playing really, really good. And Howley Kakaha, his stats speak for himself, but he's awesome to be around every day. And we got those senior linemen, and I think those guys have done a good job because, it's hard. Newness is hard, and those guys they've been a pleasure to be around. And there's nothing more that we'd like to send those guys out with a win in their last game in Husky Stadium for sure.
How did John Timu come out of the game?
He was out there running around today. And so, I think the next couple of days will tell whether, he can go. It looks like he can right now. But again, we didn't, we're not in pads today, and he didn't go full speed. But he looks better than we thought he was going to be. Yeah.
When you watch the game again, you see the clock get down to 30 seconds. Do you tell yourself that, I should have called the timeout then to give my team a chance to win if he does make the field goal?
If he makes the field goal to get one more play, I think that's fair.
How encouraged are you to see the way Sidney Jones recovers after the first quarter, a couple of plays he got beat, the way he recovered later in the game, and also Buda Baker from one game to the next game?
Yeah, I think the freshmen are growing up, rapidly. I really do, and it's nice to see guys improve. I mean, that's why we do this, and I think Sidney's done a really nice job. Finally got a couple picks, which was good. Buda coverage is much tighter, and he's not the biggest guy, but boy, he came downhill and caused that fumble, and he's doing a great job. And I think all those freshmen that we're playing are getting better, and down the road that's going to really pay tremendous dividends.
Well done. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.